This is another exciting video on finding the area of a regular polygon. In this case, we are finding the area of an octagon. So we have 8 sides. Since it's a regular polygon, that means each of the sides, notice we have this one called S for sides, each of the side lengths are the same, as is each of the central angle. So if I were to highlight one of the central angles right here, okay, I can see that we have 8 of them. If I went all the way around, that would add up to 360. If I want to find one of those central angles, I will do 360 divided by 8, which would give me an angle of 45 degrees. So each one of those central angles is going to be 45 degrees. So every time I'm finding the area of a regular polygon, I want to think about breaking it up into congruent triangles. Since this is 8 sides, if I went ahead and drew the radii from the center of that octagon, I would end up with 8 congruent triangles. So I'm going to use the equation that the area will be equal to base times height divided by 2, which would be the area of one of those triangles. But since I want 8 of them, I want to times that by 8. So I'm going to do 8 times base times height divided by 2. Oops, let me put that grouping symbol on the outside. Yes, okay. Now that could be simplified. I already know that quite a few of you might decide to just rewrite that now as, because 8 divided by 2 would be 4, is I could write that now as 4 times the base times height. Okay, and that would get me that. I like to leave it like this, and you'll see me do that intentionally, just so it helps you to remember that that 8 is referring to the number of triangles, because as time goes on, this might not be an 8-sided polygon, it might be a 10, it might be a 20, it might be a 30, it might be 100, which means that number in front is going to change to maybe 10 or 100, depending upon how many triangles there are. So I like to leave it just so it helps me to remember how many triangles I have. Okay, so that means I need to know the base, and in this problem I'm given the base is 10, but I need to find the height. All right, so I have this couple of things put in this next picture to help move this problem along. We already found that the central angle was 45. We want to find the area of one of these triangles, okay, and then we're going to times it by 8. I'm going to go ahead and put that formula that we had up above. So the area is going to be equal to 8 times the base times height divided by 2. Okay. Here's my height. Notice the height has come down. It's perpendicular. It's divided the base into 2 parts. So this is 5 and that's 5. That entire length is 10. Notice it's also cut that 45-degree angle right here into 2 equal pieces. So that's 22.5 and this is 22.5. So how do I find that height? Well, I'm noticing that I do have a right triangle. I can't use Pythagorean theorem because I don't have the hypotenuse and I also don't have this leg, but I can use trigonometry. So I'm going to use some trigonometry. That means I'm either going to use sine, opposite. So here's my angle, 22.5. Opposite would be 5. I don't have the hypotenuse, so I can't use sine. Cosine would be adjacent over hypotenuse. Again, I don't have the hypotenuse. That leaves me with tangent, which is opposite over adjacent. So I am going to go ahead and write that right here. I'm going to put tan 22.5 degrees is going to equal the side opposite of that angle. So again, here's my angle. That's my angle right there that I'm looking at. okay, 22.5. This is the side opposite, 5. This is the side adjacent. So I'm going to put 5. I'm actually going to go back into this text box. I'm going to put 5 divided by h. Okay, let me see if I can there we go. Sorry, 5 divided by h. All right, that means I need to figure out what tan 22.5 degrees is. So to do that, if I'm on my Chromebook, I will go to Desmos. So I'm going to go to a new window, and I'm going to go to Desmos. And I'm going to first go over here. It's a little bit cut off, but I'm going to click on that settings, and I'm going to make sure I'm in degree mode. And I know it's a little bit hard to see it over here, but I'm going to then go ahead and input tan 22.5 degrees into Desmos, or you can use your scientific calculator on your Chromebook as well. So tan 22.5 degrees is 0.414. I'm going to round that to 0.41. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write, I'm going to put 0.414, actually I think I'll round that just to 0.41, over a 1 equals 5 divided by the h. And I'm going to have to write my cross product. I'm going to end up with 0.41h equaling 5, which means I have to divide both sides by 0.41. That's going to give me a height of, so I'm going to do 5 divided by 0.41. That's going to give me a height of 12.2. Okay, now that I got my height is 12.2, I'm ready to go back and find my area. So I'm now going to go back up to this formula. And I'm going to put area is going to equal, I'm going to have 8 times my base, which I want to be careful. This is my base. It's not 5, it is 10. Because remember, I'm finding the area of this triangle. So that's my base. My base is 10. So I'm going to put 10 times. So I'm going to do 10 times the height, which was 12.2, and then divide by 2. Okay, so I can do that in a lot of different ways. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and do 10 times 12.2. That's going to be 122. I'm going to then divide that by 2 and then multiply it by 8, and I should end up with my area equaling 488 square units. Now I did not specify what units are being used here. It could be inches, it might be meters, could be miles. So I would just want to make sure I'm saying that it's square units depending on whichever one. If it's not specified, just leave it as 488, but keep in mind we are measuring this using squares. All right. If you need to, go back and re-watch this as you're doing some of the homework problems. All right.